This lovely morning, welcome to Business Landscape, where we take a trip around the world and looking at the morning's business headlines from across the continent. My name is Ikenna Mba. It's an exciting morning. Is anybody feeling as zesty as I am?
You must be like those lazy people who always thank God it's Friday. You see, people don't like work, and that's why they wake up every Friday morning and say, "Thank God it's Friday." You say, "Oh,
Meanwhile, they don't have jobs.
I have escaped from work."
Oh my goodness. Just amazingly, you just reminded me that it is a Friday. So my excitement has nothing to do with it. Welcome my special and usual guest today, Dr. Idahosa Osamaze is in the house.
Good Nigeria, good Lagos.
I love the way your face lights up when you say that. I think I'll start saying that to people instead of good morning.
I think I prefer good Nigeria.
Awesome.
I am dreaming it, and I know it will come to pass in my own time.
Yes, and they say when you see a picture, what you see in your mind is what
Oh,
happens.
yes.
Awesome. My second guest, as usual, Chooks John Rogers.
Good morning, Ikenna.
Good Nigeria.
Good. Who?
Good Nigeria.
Nigeria is good already, so what am I good in Nigeria? Now, for those that have not learned, they say thank God it's Friday is for lazy people. So we won't say thank God it's Friday anymore. We just say TGIF.
Let's also not forget that on the aisle, on Souk, the weekend starts on Thursday.
On Thursday, yes.
So
The real work starts on Thursday.
So you guys are late if today is your TGIF. All right, we'll jump right onto it. Business day, 5 million naira bank deposits now covered by insurance. NDIC says this. Bank deposits, insurance. Why are they being? I see that they've been helped. Is there a reason why they should be helped?
Well, I think is the normal thing to do. NDIC is a government insurance company, and you have your deposits and something going on there. What, of course, is you are supposed to take in some claims, and as it were, so that you don't lose what your deposit is, and that has been for a very long time 500,000. And what is being said is that look, that's small compared to the rate at which inflation has moved a lot of things. So they decided to show up the figure to 5 million. I think that's commendable.
Yes, it's not just commendable. I would have loved 100%, but as it is right now, let's take what we say.
Yeah.
If NDIC is saying that, hey, no matter what happens, you are sure of getting 5 million if you add up to that, then good and fine. So that means if I have just 300, 500,000, I shouldn't be scared anymore.
Yeah.
But it's all good. But they are also looking at healthy banks. That's what we should also note, that they are not there to hand out money for a bank to go under. So they're also looking at banks being healthy. And for banks to be healthy, if they see any issue with the board, that board should just know that it's either going to change or it's going to go on.
They're coming for their heads.
Yeah, but I think the regulatory framework around the banking institution is getting better. A lot are also getting. It's just not about deposit insurance. You also know even third party also recently was increased to 15,000 as what people pay, and that is because the NACOM also had raised the claim to about 9 million, which of course make it that if you have that third party accident, you can claim up to 9 million, but you have to put in your 15,000, your, what do they call it now in insurance, your premium of 15,000 every year on your vehicle.
Amazing stuff. Still on business day, trapped in excavos, 150 million liter vessels behind petrol scarcity.
Well, as it is right now, we don't know what to believe anymore.
It's incredible.
We don't know what to believe anymore. the good side of it is that there's no longer fuel subsidy. So we should hold the marketers responsible. It's not NNPC that we will hold responsible. So if we hold the marketers responsible, the marketers will point to NNPC. But now this is when Nigerians should talk. Nigerians should stop being docile. I don't know if you understand. We should demand for the product. We are paying for it, so we should have it.
But that has happened for the longest of time.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is just the fact that within the workspace in Nigeria, we are too slow in terms of talking to people. We can't be on a queue for 2 weeks now, and you are just coming to tell us the reason behind the queue. This is why there's so much distrust in our system, because this is like an afterthought.
Correct.
After all the explanation that you have tried to give, fuel is in abundance and all this, then you come suddenly to tell us that, oh, there was one vessel that is trapped. That's why we could not receive fuel. I don't think that is good enough. And I think that those who manage communications really for public agencies should do better. Sometimes you see people going on air when they should not. And then when they should go on air, they are not. They hold back. And see, that information is coming too late. Of course, in that case, you are doing damage control. Probably there should be a conference for marketing communicators for corporations, especially government agencies, to be properly trained on how to communicate during time of crisis. So when you have challenge and difficulty in your hand, people should know what to say, at what point, to douse tension, and then give people assurance and hope that government is actually on top of the game. But I think this news is coming too late.
I agree. So late. And you heard, Doctor, manage your communication. I think Chuks John Rogers is available to do the job well. We're on to...
Are you asking that I should be poached?
I didn't say
on
that.
air? Okay.
I didn't
No,
say
it's not
that.
to be poached. There's a SOOK directorate for training.
Awesome.
Okay. That could actually take charge of this and organize a workshop or a conference or whatever it is for communication practitioners, especially in public sector, to train them how to communicate in time of crisis. Because in change management, communication is critical. And if you are not able to actually give a compelling understanding of the situation, then people are confused. So people to be proactive and know what to say at what phase of the crisis. That helps manage it. And then, of course, it makes government look very open. And SOOK has that expertise.
So take advantage of it. But Doc, let me bring this to... isn't it one of the qualities of such a person before you're employed for that job to be able to move adequately, move correctly?
Well, we don't stop talking about this on this show. Really, our school system hasn't really prepared people for work. That's the bad part of it. And so you have people who are doing mass communication, even they are doing a PRO certification and fellowship. Is really not to prepare you for work. You are given so much of theory. So, but the common sense to apply the theory to reality is what, of course, such conference and workshop could actually give to people.
So SOOK is available. Reach out to us who will do you right. Well, to the UK Business Mirror. April manufacturing index hits 5-month high in the month of May, or rather this year, all-time high. Why is this happening right now? Manufacturing?
It's happening. It's not for us, it's for them.
High?
Of course, yes.
But they're also complaining about food scarcity.
Well,
yeah, but it's also a sign that the economy is going to get better.
A larger population, mind you. Those that own those manufacturing firms, those that invest in it, is a small percentage. So when the larger population is complaining, you get to feel it. But when the lesser population, the least percentage, you don't get to hear them complain. So now what is happening? We are producing less, so which means they have to produce more to direct to Africa. There is conflict in some other places in Europe. There is in the Middle East, so they have to produce. So most times when each of these things are happening, somebody somewhere is making profit.
A lot of money.
That's just the way the world works. So now it depends on you. How are you positioned to make profit? Now you are seeing that they are really actually making profit because they are declaring it and bringing it up in the news.
Yeah, but you also need to look at it from the point of the ability to manage your fiscal and monetary regimes and to ensure that it's favorable to productions and the rest of it. And that was why there was so much anxiety when Federal Reserve was going to make a press release in the US about 2 days ago. And everybody was really very anxious and wanting to see, is the price going to come down? The rate going to come down, or they are going to remain. So once they say, oh, we are maintaining the rate, and everybody say, wow, we thought that this has ended after 6 months of this high rate. Of course, since now you say inflation is going down, so they hope that the rate too should have gone down so that there'll be more money in circulation to be able to address some of the issues that affect companies or corporations who need to lend from banks to be able to do business. And therefore, you see that economy is still contrasting. So if you have a monetary regime where, of course, people have access to fund, then, of course, the level of productivity get higher. So that's what you're saying, manufacturing. And I think we should also borrow leave from that in terms of managing our monetary policy to see how we can encourage people to become real productive. And that happens when rates are low and people can borrow at a very reduced rate. And then, of course, the chances of making profits real high. That will deal with a whole lot of problem of social crisis which we face in the society. So for me, kudos to UK economy recovery. Sunak has been on a very hot seat. And I think by now, at least from here, it can also bring some air of relief.
Relief. So Nigeria debt up 77.1% as of 2024, end of first quarter. Isn't that a lot? 77.1% up. Debt.
What would you have expected?
For it to go down.
Well, your debt goes down when your earning increases.
Is it not when you're paying back? Or is only when your earning increases?
It's when your earning increases.
How can you pay back if you don't have money to pay? You need to make money to pay.
Yeah. So that is the thing. And I think these are part of the issues that we really have to deal with. People say, government needs to function or be running. You can't come today and say, oh, civil servant, you can't receive your salary because we didn't make money last month. So what is coming in is actually poor. This is for me really the argument where even those who are negotiating on behalf of labor to say, how do we increase productivity? How do we reduce waste in the system such that government is run efficiently and prudently? In that case, you find that we will not have to be borrowing this month. So, but when you look at the system, and this is what a lot of people are complaining about, you have so much waste. You are asking, are these really necessary? I was so impressed by the young man in Senegal the other day when he was going to swear in their cabinet. A less than 15-minute ceremony. And he said, there's so much we need to do, so let's get back to work. So some of these official gathering, official travels, all of these take a lot of resources. And most of the time, our debts are actually used in funding this lifestyle that may not really be worth it. I don't know if you have read Lee Kuan Yew's book, From Third to First World. especially in chapter 22, where he dealt with the issues in the Commonwealth. And one of the challenges he had was the fact that relating and interacting with Commonwealth, he saw that a lot of African leaders who were very poor and were coming to Commonwealth to come and beg money, they were coming with chartered flight, and those who they were going to beg money from came with commercial flights. So,
Misnomer.
yeah, this waste, yeah, I'm going to borrow money from you, you know, and you are eating bole and ekpa, and you who's going to borrow, you are going to Chicken Republic to go and eat.
Fried rice.
You can imagine what it looks like. So these are the kind of lifestyle that we find around our space, that people live extravagantly. We have a fleet of cars with drivers all attached, and they are all just ceremonial. And there's no productivity that is added on a daily basis. And of course, you have to pay these people. You have an army, a retinue of aides. The aide of the president have aides. Ministers have aides. The aides to minister have aides. And the list is endless. So once we can cut down on some of all these unnecessaries, we find that even what we earn will be able to actually take care of us. So this for me is a counsel or an advice to prudence and efficiency in government, so it can become real lean, and then government can save so much money to pay its debt obligation. And then, of course, we have the economy really driving at the right direction.
It's really appalling. I have a question. Do you see at any point in time us as a debt-free nation? Somewhere in the back of your mind, I'm asking both of you. Somewhere there, just lurking in the corners of your mind. Do you envisage it?
Oh, I see that we can be debt-free. It's possible. Very possible.
Doc, are you being diplomatic now?
I'm not just diplomatic, it's possible, because you see,
I've been patriotic.
Yes, I'm always patriotic and nationalistic. I believe in Nigeria, and I believe it with the whole of my heart. And I know that there's so much we can leverage. Even behind the scene just now, we're talking about a lot of gap in our economy, where, of course, productive activity can happen, and Nigeria can actually leverage. What we have not done so far is the fact that we have not faced our brutal facts. And that's what I'm talking about. So once you embrace your brutal fact and the reality to say this is, we cannot go beyond this level. Look at the issues of subsidies that we're talking about. And I'm still worried in one of my corner of my heart to really see that we really are sure that prices are driven by the forces of demand and supply. Because you're not seeing the effect, for example, of the fluctuation on the exchange rate on the prices of those items where subsidies have been removed. This is, for me, a real issue, because if rates are going up and prices are stable, then something is happening somewhere.
Somebody is not telling somebody the truth.
Yeah, something is happening somewhere that may not be quite obvious to everybody, except those who are inside. So in this case, you're not telling the entire story. Because if you say, oh, we have taken off subsidy, we are not funding anything, of course, it's the market forces that is determining what it is. So we must know what mechanisms that are in place that make prices stable, even when rates are unstable. But that's not clear to so many people. So these are some of the factors that you may look at. So government will really need to find a way either to bail out or to cushion the effects of the changes on the macroeconomic indicators. So this is one aspect. But if the economy remains really fully productive, that Nigeria is producing rice at capacity, producing tomatoes at its capacity, producing cassava, and maximizing every potential that is in it, producing cashew, and we are producing palm oil, and we don't need to import palm oil again. And all this happening within our terrain. And then, of course, we can invest in the solid mineral that is littered around the entire 36 states of this federation, with the gas deposit and the crude deposit. So who do we need to borrow money from?
So having said all this, if we were doing all this, how soon do you think the debt
How
we
soon?
can kill it? Because I love all you have said, and it's full capacity of all these things.
Yeah,
Can
but
we-
you
Can we
see,
look for a fast solution?
there's nothing like a fast solution.
There is if we implement it.
Yes, like you were
It
saying.
means there's no fast solution. I remember a friend of mine told me some years back when the government of Nigeria during Yar'Adua traveled to Abu Dhabi to sit down and look at the rate challenge in Nigeria. And it was also during this time of fuel scarcity that the king of UAE visited Nigeria and saw that there were queue and said, this is haram.
Mm.
Why will a country like Nigeria be having queue to buy petrol?
Yep.
That should be the least of everybody's problem. So he invited the entire government to come to the UAE so that they can actually sit down and look at the issues in their bare face. That delegation was led by our former president, Goodluck Jonathan, with over 8 ministers. And they locked themselves room in the Abu Dhabi School of Strategic Study to look at Nigeria. In short, my friend, because he was the head of the training institute then in Abu Dhabi, said by the time the minister made their presentations, there was a question to say, what is really wrong? While we were planning to say, oh, in the next 20 years or 30 years, we can be among the first 20 economy. From what he told me from that Abu Dhabi Accord, that Nigeria could actually be one of the first 5 economy in 5 years. If we do what is right.
Good. So now there is also a fast track solution, but we keep talking away from it if we do what is right.
Please share.
If
Share.
the National Assembly today put a law that if you borrow 10 kobo before your tenure runs out, you must pay back that 10 kobo, or you and your entire cabinet will go to jail, this borrowing will stop. If you borrow, you make sure that it was used well, and you must make sure you make provision to pay it before you leave. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but you see, when you stop borrowing, it will not increase your.
Let the next person come in, do his borrowing, and pay before he leaves.
Yeah, I appreciate this dimension. You see, if you look at, for example, in Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, before he left, made money for the country.
Yep.
So, but what he did was the fact that the law was not that you should pay what you borrow. The law was that you cannot spend what you meant.
You can't spend what you make.
No,
Make
But
your own.
you have to make your own money and
spend
add to
that.
what you meant.
Good. But now we have a
That's
peculiar,
You know,
situation.
in
When
the
nobody's
last,
taking responsibility.
in the last election in Singapore, what was the real issue and what is the debate? People are arguing that we're having so much money in our
The reserve.
reserve, sovereign wealth fund. Why do we need to be stressing, to be imposing more taxes? We should give people holiday. And the person said, our founding father, in his wisdom, said that we cannot eat everything today. We must keep something for the children that are yet to be born. And therefore, we cannot eat it. Our obligation is to make and add to the wealth, not to deplete it. So, you see it. So, the responsibility is actually on productivity. So, if states really wake up, you see, because my real problem is that we have a federation that is running like a unitary kind of government. And it's not because that there's a deliberate policy or regulations or law at the federal level that make it so, but that the citizens of the states are so docile to even understand that there are responsibilities and obligations on their state government to perform.
The same state government that are owing other international organizations.
This is the real issue. Money is coming into the state. There are avenues for states to improve their IGR.
Invest in it.
Yeah, but you don't hear anybody talk about their state governor. Everybody talk about president. When they are talking about hardship in Nigeria today, what do people think? Oh, this is Tinubu. But they quickly forget that we are a federation. That is not Tinubu that should determine the economy of Lagos or the economy of Ogun State. That the man who also contested to become the governor of Ogun or the governor of Edo or the governor of Cross River, that man has a responsibility to create wealth in his domain. Now, if all the states, for example, are creating wealth and they are holding their economy, we won't be seeing the lapses we are seeing. And more so, these people just go every month to Abuja, you collect something, and that is it. If that one is not enough, then you go and borrow and add.
And we're not even talking about
So for me, really, the laziness in the state and the local government is what we really need to address. Because if the state becomes functional and the local government are doing what they are supposed to do, there'll be not too much pressure around. So if I am a citizen of Edo State, I know that it is the duty of Edo State to create an economy for me. So we should not be blaming the man who is in Abuja. We should be blaming the man who is in Osadebe House. Now, one citizen can hold their immediate leaders accountable. You find that somehow the narrative can change for us. Because if you remove what states are owing, whether from local debt or foreign debt, you see what the federal government is owing is actually a pittance.
So invariably, from what you have said, we're looking at 5 years. If we're serious, if we're producing at full capacity.
Yeah, 5 years is too much.
5 years is way too much.
Take for example, today, if you plant rice today, this is the 3rd of May. June, July. By August, there'll be harvest.
August, you will definitely harvest. Same thing for most of the staple crops.
So why will we have to stay 5 years? So if we do what is right, we should be able to see results in 9 months, in 1 year. That we see that there's a trend that is tumbling up. So, but how do we deal with the mental laziness in the environment is the real conversation that I feel that had to be had. Because we have a kind of belief that, government is the one to provide job and resources for everybody. And that for me is also very weird.
Amazing. It's amazing how all the conversation keeps taking us back to productivity. So on to Nigerian news direct next. NDIC increases deposit insurance coverage for financial institutions. I think that's the one we took from Business Day. Their old version. Financial Express, tax rise plan for high earners faces backlash. They're trying to raise taxes for high earners, and they're giving reasons to say, things are not really working. We're not making as much as you think we're making, so you need to step back a bit. Is that where they should be playing? I know many don't like to pay taxes, and when it comes to taxes, they're like, okay, it's too much. How are they getting? How is backlash coming on the verge of this?
I think for me, when you say backlash, of course, people really not happy about it.
Because if you earn more, you should pay more.
As a matter of fact, there should be a rebate for those who are earning more.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Shouldn't they pay more?
No. Because you are having an economy that is overburdened. The kind of social service that these high earners are doing, government can't do it.
They can claim that from their CSR. There is a provision for that.
Many of these things can't get into CSR. All you do is that you are sitting down here and your salary is coming. Your niece is sending message. Your uncle is sending message. Your auntie is sending message. Your nephew is sending message. Your neighbor is sending message. How do you put this in CSR?
The same thing happens to the poor man too. His poorer niece is sending
Let's not forget that too.
His poorer neighbor is sending
No. What I mean is that there's a whole lot of dependence on those who are earning. The reason because we have an army of huge people who are not working at all.
You see how I've come back to productivity.
Okay. Now
we have to increase it.
The issue is this: if there is a percentage of you pay 2.5 or you pay 7.5 when it comes to VAT, or you pay some other percentage on when you earn this. We have specific percentage on money paid based on how much you earn.
No, but we're talking about 25% here.
Now, that is for high earners.
Yes.
Now, this is debatable. It's not as if maybe it's cast of stone. This is something that everybody can sit and say, hey, bring this down. If you are saying we should get more productive, then you should tax us less. There should be other places where they can get waivers on their productivity, because if they are any more, that means they are very productive.
Yes.
So there should be other places or other avenues where they can get waivers on their productivity.
Look,
but the money coming directly to them, like what they earn directly.
Yeah. But you see, the point I'm making is that for us to be able to hold together the social fabric of society, a whole lot of weight is already on people who you think that they are high earners.
True.
Because of the responsibility that comes with those wages. And when you look at it the way, and that's why you see that you have a lot of, if you are a rich man in the midst of very poor people, you're also a very poor person.
That is why you should not be a rich man in the midst of poor.
Yeah, but that is why, of course, we're talking about how do we increase the productivity? How do we get people to work? So that the burden
It's reduced.
is reduced or shared.
Correct.
So you're looking at it, how do we share the burdens so that we can get a lot of people productive? So rather than giving people some of these small stipends, one thing that can also be done at governmental level is to ensure that every citizen in state do have health insurance. The very poor. But for us to be able to get to that, again, you have to do a registration.
Isn't that
to know who are very poor. No, it's not far-fetched. In Kigali has achieved that. Yes, there may be a small population, but every single person that lives in Kigali today has a health insurance. So that when you are sick, for example, you don't need to call an uncle.
Yet. And it's not difficult.
You don't need to call an uncle. So you just go to the hospital. And then, of course, you are treated. That reduces the burden of society. That, for me, is even better than the 5,000, 50,000, 25,000 conditional cash transfer. Because if we put this on the head of the citizens, and we are asking citizens, you see, what government is giving to you is free head. There'll be so much of avoidable debts. Even our lifespan will begin to increase because people will have confidence to go to the hospital, knowing fully well that certain categories of ailment and treatment has been paid for. We won't be seeing people dying of malaria. There are so many people who are dying of malaria today because they cannot afford malaria drug. So rather for me, that states to think about palliative of sending carton of Indomie to people, we can use that money and pay for insurance. You'll be killing two birds with one stone. Because number one, you will be funding the insurance company. And then the insurance company become very liquid. And then, of course, they will have so much product they can sell. They can get into mortgage. Insurance can get into all manners of cash credits. So all those micro insurance issues will be taken care of because they will have enough liquid. But when you give this thing to people, they eat it tomorrow, then they're gone. They really don't know what government has done for them. So I feel really these are some of the things that we can actually do and then reduce the burden on the very few halves, and then we can collectively share those burdens. And I think those for me is a policy that will work.
Policies must work. Good Nigeria, act like it. So we'll come to the tail end of today's show. More headlines for you when you join us on Monday, 7 a.m. Thank you for staying here. Stay tuned for more of our programs on Sweet News Television. you.